to your Entrepreneur Resources show. I'm very excited that you're here with me today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Venice, your host, and here at your Entrepreneur Resources, we discover the no-fluff action steps to help you avoid all the overwhelm and all the BS out there, connecting you with the right mentors, resources, and tools, helping you every step of the way on your entrepreneurial journey. We go live here twice a week, interviewing different entrepreneurs and experts on all areas of business. So make sure to join our Facebook group and look out for the events inside your Entrepreneur Resources page. You can find all the links in the description box. Today, I have a really awesome guest with me. It is Tori Overmyer. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm super excited for this conversation with you. So Tori is also is a wife, dog mama, and reality TV lover. Tori helps women create and sell their offers on Instagram to grow a thriving online business. She specializes in organic Instagram growth and social selling. Super awesome. I love that. I have to talk to her all about reality TV later. But in this interview, before we go there, we're going to look at how to convert your audience into paying clients using Instagram stories and other Instagram marketing tips and strategy. Super awesome. Super excited for this conversation. But before we get started, do you mind sharing a little bit more about your business and your journey with us?
Yes. Thank you again so much for having me. And like you said, I am a business coach. I specialize in helping other online coaches, other online business owners. So, how I got started is kind of interesting. I used to be a hairstylist, and
Cool.
I got, I would say, like 99% of my clients through Instagram. And so other hairstylists started reaching out to me, wanting help with their Instagram strategies. And I started offering their help. And from there, it kind of snowballed. Then I realized how much I love the online space. I was able to leave doing hair and go full time into coaching. And that's when I decided that I wanted to help other coaches. So now my clients range anywhere from like other business coaches to, nutrition coaches, health coaches, fitness coaches, even like social media managers. So really anyone with an online business, my goal is to help them get more clients and make more money basically.
Yeah, I love that mission. I think that nowadays everybody's on Instagram. Do you think Instagram is a good platform for anyone with any business, or what's your take on that?
I do. I mean, I know there are some where other platforms are great too, like things like Facebook, even LinkedIn, Pinterest. But I think any business can benefit from using Instagram because, like you said, everyone's on it.
Yeah, true, true, true. So I know that Instagram story is definitely a place that I spend a lot of my time, and a lot of people statistically spend their time. With all the stories out there, how do you make sure that your stories stand out, right? Like there's so much competition and so many things screaming for your attention. What are some tips that you have for us regarding, making sure our Instagram stories stay branded as well as connecting to our ideal audience?
Yeah. So, two of the biggest things that I would say are make sure that you have a really healthy mix of both personal and business related content on your Instagram stories because especially when it comes to stories, people want to feel connected to you and they want to be entertained, honestly. So
Mhm.
sometimes when people either post way too much just business related content and nothing personal, um, people won't want to come back for more. And then on the opposite hand, too, if you're not posting enough about your business, people may feel connected to you, but they may not even know what you have to offer. So I really like to help my clients in coming up with a strategy that will help them consistently post things that are more just like fun and will help people connect to them and keep coming back for more. But then also, give them great ways to be able to bring up their business and actually sell on their Instagram stories too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How would you suggest someone, share about their personal stories and like, their everyday life without oversharing? I think there is a very thin line between, like sharing too much and just being like in people's faces and just people would be like, but I don't care about that. I'm here to work with you, right? So I'm not sure. I'm sure not everyone's like that, but there's that line, I think. And do you have any suggestions as to how to kind of overcome that?
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought this up actually, because it's something that I'm pretty passionate about and definitely have like a core value of that in my business of like not oversharing and not making my
Hmm.
clients feel that pressure. I actually do a series on IGTV if anyone wants to follow me on Instagram at the whole Tori and watch. I just recently did one all about like boundaries and not oversharing on Instagram. So I totally understand what you're saying. And my biggest tip there is to make a list honestly of your boundaries. Like I know what my hard no's are, right? So like if I'm at a family event or just like with my friends, I'm not on Instagram.
Hmm.
I also have, boundaries of like if I'm really upset, I'm not going to get on Instagram and post about it. Like I'm not ever going to post, myself crying online if I'm like having a tough time, which sounds funny, but some people do it. um,
Yeah,
so
and that's someone's like some other people's strategy, and they should be okay doing that, right?
Yes, totally. So everyone will have different boundaries and different things that they're okay with and not. But I think it's really helpful to be clear with yourself on what those are. What are the things that you are okay with sharing online, and what are the things that you are not okay with sharing online, so that you have some like guidelines for yourself there.
Yeah, definitely. So, do you think that for Instagram stories, say someone is listening right now, they're thinking, okay, I don't really put personal touches in my Instagram story, like me, I don't really. Where is a good place to start, Because in the past, when we were going to work, going to the office, when COVID was not so much a thing, you could be walking around taking random shots of, like, I don't know, your office on your way to work. But nowadays, it might be a little bit harder. You can't even take photos or videos of your travels. So, what kind of content should we try to put out there to kind of keep our audience entertained, but still have that boundary set?
Yeah, so what I would start out by doing is create some personal content buckets. That's like a name for them, or you
Mm,
can call them like content topics, whatever. It's essentially a list of maybe 3 to 5 things that are not super related to your business that you'll consistently talk about or show on your stories. So it can be as simple as, for me, I show, every morning me sitting in my backyard with my tea. I share what book I'm currently reading. I don't drink alcohol, so I share mocktail recipes. That's something that I
mm.
kind of like consistently share about. So you can see that all of those 3 things, they're like not related to my business. They're personal and fun. They're not crossing my boundaries. And they're really easy for me to keep up with and like show to my audience.
No, oh my gosh, I love that so much. That's such a good idea. I'm going to start doing that.
Mhm.
Um, I know that there are audience listening right now that's thinking, oh gosh, I really want to, but I'm scared to put my face out there. I don't know if I'm comfortable with talking to the camera. What would you say to these people? Like, do you have any suggestions as to what else they could do instead of talking to the camera?
Yes. So, first and foremost, they may not love this advice, but I'm going to say just do it anyways, because the quicker you do it and get comfortable with it, the sooner that awkward beginning part is going to be over with, and you're going to feel more comfortable with it. And I highly encourage getting comfortable with it, because it is the best way for our audience to connect with us and the best way for us to build trust. And trust is so important. When it comes to people actually like purchasing from us. So when we talk about converting people from followers and viewers to clients, trust is huge, and video is really helpful in building that. So do it. But I will give tips for some other ways that you can connect with your audience too, and that's um, maybe it's just a picture of yourself with some text on it, or a picture of, like I said, I'll show sometimes my backyard with like text on it, so you can still add in again personal touches without talking. But I definitely do recommend trying it out and trying to get comfortable with video.
I agree 100%. Love that. How do you get your audience to engage with you using Instagram stories? Because I know, the selling is in the DMs, and I've heard this so many times. And, there are like all these stickers you can use. Do you have any suggestions as to where people should start or maybe they should focus on when it comes to building that engagement?
Yeah, so I like to think of the stickers that we can use in stories. I like to think of them kind of in like levels. And what I mean by that is there are some that are really easy for our audience to interact with, like the one where they can just use the little slidey bar or just
Mhm.
press yes or no. And then there are some that are a little bit harder for them to interact with, where it's like answering a question or DMing us, right? So
Mhm.
we have to think of it as like we're training our audience. And so if we can start out with those ones that are easier for them to interact with and get them used to using those, then when we go add in the ones that are, a little bit higher level, harder to interact with, they're going to be more likely because they're already used to interacting with those other ones. So start with the simple ones like the slidey bar and the poll, and then build your way up to asking people to DM you.
So the sliding bar, would you? I'm just really curious because I do Instagram stories quite a lot as well on for my clients' accounts. Would
Mhm.
you recommend putting engagement stickers on every single story, or what's your take on that?
I wouldn't say every single story because going back to that same idea I was talking about, where we want to kind of keep people entertained and keep them coming back, we want to make sure that we're not doing the same thing too many times and creating too much predictability, right? So definitely not on every single one. Save it for the ones that are where it's really applicable. We don't want things to feel forced and feel like we're just slapping one on there to try to get some engagement. So really try to use them where it like works, like when you're asking a question, or where you're with the slidey bar, where you're showing something maybe that you really love and you like want to see how much other people love it. So use them when they're really applicable, not because you feel like you have to.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Okay, so when a new audience just came into your life and your circle and your Instagram started following you, obviously they're a bit of a cold lead. How do you build that relationship? I love that you said, you use these stickers to train them to get them to get used to engaging on your Instagram stories. How do you go from a cold lead to hopefully eventually a client or a customer?
Ooh, so many things go into that. But and a lot of them are content related. So a lot of the things that I teach my clients are attraction marketing strategies. So again, going back to that idea of like the personal content, I really try to make sure that within my content, I'm doing things that are naturally attracting my ideal client. So one big tip I can give there, this is one of my favorites, is number one, know your ideal client really well, obviously. Number two, how can you embody them online? Meaning, what are things that you do, whether it's in your business or in your day to day life, that your ideal client wishes they were doing? And how can you showcase that? A simple example of that is I know my ideal client really wants the freedom that comes with owning an online business, right? Maybe they're right now stuck in a 9 to 5 and they wish they had more flexibility like me. So I'll sometimes show myself watching a reality TV show in the middle of the day and say, like, watching reality show at, 2 p.m. because I can. So little things like that, those like attraction marketing strategies are really going to start
Mhm.
naturally kind of warming people up. um, and then, of course, content that is more so based around selling is where you start to warm them up even more. So, doing things like maybe educating them on the problem that they have. So, really speaking to what they're struggling with, making them feel seen and heard, right? Making content that makes your ideal client read it and go, oh shit, that's me, like she knows me so well. And then beyond that, too, of course, another piece of that is the actual connecting piece. So making sure that you are very responsive, respond to comments, comment on other people's posts, respond to DMs, send DMs. Like, don't be afraid to be social on social media.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. I think that's such a good tip. I think sometimes it can be scary to reach out to other people, but because we might get rejected. I talk about this quite a lot. Like rejection can be very scary, but if you don't put yourself out there, you'll never get anywhere. So just with a grain of salt, if they reject you or they don't see your message, it's okay, don't worry about it. But at the same time, try to, put yourself out there so you can build those connections. I love that you brought up selling, because I think that's huge on Instagram. It can be scary for people to go from sharing about their personal lives or sharing about tips and strategies to, hey, I'm launching a program, anybody want to join? So I know this is a very tricky topic. Do you mind sharing a little bit more about how you sell on Instagram, and, like, for example, how often you sell on Instagram as well?
Mhm. So I personally sell a lot.
Hmm.
I'm pretty frequently either um, in a hard launch where like I'm, in the moment trying to fill spots for things. And even if I'm not doing that, I'm kind of always thinking ahead and strategically warming up my audience and talking about things that my offers involve, even if I'm not necessarily, having the cart open for the offer yet. So I feel like I'm kind of always selling in one way or another. Um, and ooh, let me think of some like good simple tips, because this is such a I could go all over the place with this topic.
It's a big topic.
Yes, I love talking about selling. It's definitely like the number one thing that I teach my clients. Um, so let's start with go back to what I was just talking about with educating people on the problem.
Mhm.
Because I think that's huge. We really need to, again, understand our ideal client really well and speak to what they're struggling with online and make sure they know that we have a solution to their problem. On the opposite end of that, we also really want to speak to their desires too, right? So, not just their
Mhm.
pain points, but also their pleasure points. So, making sure that we're creating content that talks about, like, helps them see the possibility basically of what their life or their business could be like after working with us. So those two areas are really, really, I would say, yeah, knowing your ideal client and being able to speak to their pain and pleasure points, um, and tapping into the emotions of that as well. So, like, how they'll feel when they're experiencing those results that they get after working with us. Those are all sort of like the building blocks, I would say, to starting to create content that sells your offer.
Mhm. And how do we kind of talk about offers on Instagram stories? I know that we can obviously share about client testimonials and cart closing, opening, and all those things, but do you have any other kind of content types that we can, like, kind of use for Instagram stories when it comes to selling?
Yes, a couple of my other favorite ones. One, I like to call the differentiator. So this is content you get on your story and basically talk about what makes you or your offer unique. Because
Mhm.
as we all know, the market is very saturated. So we need to
Yeah.
be able to speak really clearly to our audience about basically why they should pick us over the millions of other people that they could choose from. So I like to get on my stories and talk about, like I said, either what makes me unique as a coach or maybe like what's unique about my coaching style. Or you could
Mhm.
talk specifically about what is something that makes your offer unique, right? So, like for you, even for example, it's really cool that you have a library of resources. A lot of people have other things where it's like they can attend live things, but they may not get this like library of resources, right? So, that's something
Mhm.
that differentiates your offer. And speaking to your audience about why that makes it so cool is a
Mhm.
really great way to sell.
Mhm.
And then another one I like to call the visualization type of content. So this is where you help your audience visualize what could what their life could be like if they say yes to your offer. So again, painting the possibilities for them. But then
Mhm.
on the other hand too, speak to them about what could happen if they don't. Because a lot of the times people are afraid to invest, they're afraid to spend money. But if we can show them that sometimes not spending that money and staying stuck where they are is even scarier, then they're going to want to buy. So it's really important for us to help them see, again, not only the possibilities of if they say yes, but also what's the possibility and what is the outcome probably going to be if they keep putting this off.
Yeah, I love those tips. Thank you so much for sharing those.
Sure.
I have a quick question about highlights as well.
Okay.
Would you recommend having a highlight that kind of like features your offers?
Yes. So I love highlights. I think that they're super important. I think sometimes people think that people don't watch them, but I think they definitely do, especially like newer followers. That's kind of what I like to create my highlights for is I picture if someone just found my page, what would I really want them to see? So I don't have all of my offers on there. Some of my offers are more so for someone that maybe has already worked with me in some other way. It's like a much higher level experience. But my signature offer, or if anybody has, let's say, like courses or memberships or something that is kind of always available or something that you want to be known for, I definitely recommend having a highlight for that and saving not only information about it, but saving also, client testimonials or client experiences or other things like that that you think someone who, again, is new to your page would be interested in learning.
Absolutely. And for posts, just tying Instagram stories to Instagram feed posts, do you recommend we sell on Instagram post? I think this is a sensitive topic too, because some people recommend, we shouldn't mention the prices of our offers on Instagram feed posts. And some people are like, no, you should. And some people would just straight up put a mock-up of your offer on Instagram feed. And some people would be like, no, don't do that. I know this is such a sensitive topic, and I mean, everyone's different, but what's your take on that?
Well, one thing I would say, and this is not a very probably likable answer because it's not super helpful, but I don't think any of those are right or wrong. I very much
Mhm.
am someone who doesn't, I try really hard not to teach like principles that are, black and white like that because I think anything could work for anyone's business as long as it works for them and their ideal client, right? So I think again, it really comes back to knowing your ideal client. If you think that having a price on your posts would scare them away, then don't have it on there and have that conversation about price with them when you actually get them on the phone. If you think your ideal client is someone who would just want to know the price up front, maybe they're someone who's used to these types of prices, they've bought from, other people like you before, then you make that decision. So I think again it comes back to knowing you and your ideal client when it when it comes to if you're going to, put the price on a post or not.
No, absolutely. I really love that tip. I think it is important, right? Like Instagram, there's no one set in stone Instagram strategies that's going to make you millions of dollars. You have
Mhm.
to test it out. And so true, understanding your ideal audience and knowing exactly how to approach them, what kind of content they would like, and how they would want to be sold to, I guess. So thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
I know that a lot of entrepreneurs talk about the power of Instagram Reels. Do you mind sharing a little bit about if you use it, or if you do, how do you use Instagram Reels for your strategy?
So I will be totally honest with you, reels are not my strong suit. I really struggled with them, just because I do feel like I'm not an entertainer, you know? I feel like
Mhm.
reels are really great for people that are either good at dancing or being funny, and I love to just show up and, like, talk. I like much, like, longer form content. That's why I love just getting on my stories and talking. So reels have been a struggle for me, but I will say I have had a couple reels kind of go viral. Like one got way more views than any of my other ones, and it got me a lot of new followers. So I will
Mm,
say they are really good for reaching new people. I don't know if they're great necessarily for selling by
mm,
themselves, just because they are shorter form, right? You can't fit as much as you would say in an Instagram story, for example. But they are really great for reaching new people. So if you're especially focusing on building and growing your audience, I would definitely try to get on the Reels train.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Reels, like I see it all the time. I open Instagram and I see Reels like reels on reels on reels. So try it out if you haven't, but at the same time, if you don't, it's not the end of the world, I think. So
Yes,
I agree with you.
totally.
One more, I'm just throwing questions at you right now because I'm also a student. I'm learning from you, and I'm really loving this conversation. Do you have any tips to share about link in bio? Because we get one link in our whole entire profile. Any suggestions as to, for example, should we use Linktree? Would you recommend just putting one link? Like any tips on that?
Yes, I would recommend using Linktree,
Mhm.
just because I do like to have more than one thing available in there for my audience. Like, for example, I will usually have a button on there that is whatever I'm currently selling, but I'll also have a button on there for my free resource, and I'll also maybe have one on there for just my website in general for someone that wants to go look around. So it's really hard for me to narrow it down to one thing usually.
Mhm.
So I do like having a link tree. I will give another tip too, though. Um,
Mhm.
I recently switched from using Linktree to my actual website. So what I did is on my website, I created a page that just has buttons on it. It literally looks like Linktree, but it's cuter and in my colors because it's on my website, and it helps drive more traffic to my website instead of just to Linktree. So I have Squarespace. That's what I was able to do it on. I'm sure every other website platform you could just Google, how to create I think I Googled how to create a fake link tree on Squarespace. Um, so that I really enjoyed having that instead of Linktree.
Yeah, I'm doing the exact same. I also have a page and I use WordPress. So WordPress it works, Squarespace works. So I'm sure whichever platform, I'm sure Wix works too. Maybe not as flexible, but I'm sure it works too. So if anyone listening right now want to explore that option, I will say that I do prefer it over Linktree. So yeah, definitely try and create the page yourself. Thank you so much for coming on. I know that I've just basically been asking you all these questions and you've given us so many tips and so many strategies and like really appreciate it. Before we wrap up though, I know that you have a special gift for us. Do you mind sharing a little bit more about that?
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. That was really fun, and you asked really great questions, so I really enjoyed that. Yeah, I have a free resource at the link in my bio. It's a free hashtag workbook and caption calendar. It's specifically made for online coaches and online business owners. So it has the workbook in it that will show you how to pick hashtags that are effective for you and your industry. It also has a caption calendar, which has 30 days worth of caption topics on there for you. And then it also has niche hashtag sets. I pre-made some for the most common coaching industries so that you can basically copy and paste and start using those today.
Wow, so generous of you. I'm so excited about this gift. For entrepreneurs that's listening right now, make sure to grab it. I'll put it in the description box down below. Tori, before I let you go, do you mind sharing where people can find out more about you and connect with you online?
Yes, so you can find me on Instagram at the whole Tori, TheWholeTori.
Awesome. And your website as well?
Yeah, my website is thewholeTori.com.
Oh, perfect. Easy to remember. Thank you again so much for being on your Entrepreneur Resources show. So many actionable tips, so many actionable strategies. I'm sure a lot of us have walked away with a lot of notes. For entrepreneurs that's listening right now, in case you want to get a summary of the interview, make sure to check out our show notes, which I'll link in the description box. We have our live interviews with experts here twice a week, so make sure to stay tuned and join our community. Thank you so much, Tori, for being here. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I'll chat with you very soon and have a great rest of your day.